Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is going to be my November TBR featuring my Bookopoly board as well as 3 different readathons. Those readathons being Descendathon, Believathon, and Netgalley November. As I explain those, I will link them in the description. And so yeah, how this works is I do 6 rolls of a dice. The dice moves me around the Bookopoly board, and whatever prompt I land on, I have to find a book that fills that prompt, and a lot of them are very vague. So I've pre-filmed these prompts yesterday, so I already know the prompts, and I know how the board did me. And so I will insert the clip of me rolling and then talk about the book, and then after my Bookopoly picks, I will go into the readathons. And if you ever catch me looking down while talking, I have all the information here on my phone so I don't mess anything up, because I have a tendency of saying the wrong thing and then having to in edit go, oh wait, I meant XYZ ABC. Okay, so here is the board. I don't know where the little piece that I had is, so we're using an eraser because well, everything else I have is seemingly too big. But I've already explained we're going to do 6 rolls unless there are extras. And so let's start off with roll number 1, where we finished off last time, which was most recent purchase, so we'll be moving on from there. So, okay, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under 300 pages or small book. Okay, so the first prompt was small book under 300 pages, and I'm doing a reread for this. I normally have a rule where I can't do rereads, but because it's the end of the year, I'm allowing myself to do rereads, and so I'm going to be rereading The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakovic. If you know this book, you know that this is not the original cover. This is a dust jacket that I got from, I know the artist is on here, LL Starcaster LL, and so I love these covers. That's a whole different thing though, but essentially in this book, or at least in the first book, we essentially follow Neil, who gets the opportunity to play Exy at this university, and Exy is essentially kind of like a game of it's kind of like lacrosse with the twist to it, and essentially Neil gets offered this opportunity to be on the Exy team, and he gets like a full scholarship and all that to the university, but in doing so it kind of puts him in the kind of spotlight of the Exy world, and in doing so things of his past get brought up, and people from his past that he's trying to hide from may or may not eventually know where he is and all of that. And this is a really good series. I read this back in March, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm like dying to do a reread of these books now that I finally own all 3 of them, because for a little while there I only owned 2 of them. So I'm going to be doing a reread of this entire series in November here. So yeah. Okay, roll number 2. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have chance, which chance are a equal amount of books that I'm excited to read and an equal amount I'm not. I've shuffled through these, so... Ooh, Out of Character by Annabeth Albert. So the next one was Chance, and for that I got Out of Character by Annabeth Albert, and this was one of the books that, it was one that it was one of them that was like a, I don't want to read, but not in like I don't want to read it, but in a just not right now type setting. So I will read the Goodreads description because oh, this is long. But this is one that I know what it's about, but at the same time I can't remember. So Jasper Quigley is tired of being everyone's favorite sidekick. He wants to become the hero of his own life, but that is not going to happen if he agrees to help out his former best friend turned king of jocks, Mile Leonetti. High school was miserable enough, thanks. and Jasper has no interest of dredging up painful memories of his old secret crush. But Milo's got nowhere else to go. His life is spiraling out of control, and he's looking to turn things back around. Step 1, replace the rare Odyssey cards that he lost in an idiotic bet. Step 2, tell his ex-best friend exactly how he feels, how he's always felt. Jasper may be reluctant to reopen old wounds, but he never could resist Milo. There's a catch. If Milo wants his help, he's going to have to pitch in to make the upcoming Children's Hospital's charity ball the best ever. But as the two don cosplays for the kids and hunt for rare cards, nostalgia for their lost friendship may turn into something even more lasting. And this is the second book in the True Color series. Essentially, the first book is what is it? The first book is Conventionally Yours, and the game of Odyssey is kind of like a made-up card game, which you learn a little bit about in book 1. You don't necessarily have to read them in any order, but Jasper is a character in the first book, is like the main character's best friend. That's about the line of being like everybody's favorite sidekick type thing. And this one, I guess I'm kind of excited for it because when in doubt, it's queer. It's an adult novel, I believe. But I did really enjoy Conventionally Yours, and I think I read that in an entire day. So like, I feel like this would be a quick read because I just feel like I'm gonna enjoy it. Okay, roll number 3. Buck, we got a double. Okay, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. An audiobook. Okay. So then we got a double, so we moved our 6 rolls into 7. And so I got Audiobook. And for Audiobook, I'm going to be listening to the audiobook of Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. And this is the second book in the Cassidy Blake series. The first book being City of Ghosts, which I read in May. And essentially, Cassidy can see ghosts. And in the first book, City of Ghosts, her parents, they start this TV show of hunting ghosts, and in book 1 she goes to Edinburgh, and book 2 is set in, I honestly can't remember. It is set in Paris, and there's a ghostly danger lurking beneath Paris in the creepy underground catacombs, and Cassidy essentially looks for ghosts. That's kind of how it is. It's a middle grade, and I've been wanting to continue this series, and I figured the audiobook I listened to back in May when I listened to City of what the fuck is it called? City of Ghosts. Oh my god, I'm brain farting on things. But I listened to it partly on audiobook, partly physical book. So I know that this is a series that I'll just be able to read audiobook, and then also it's only like 5 hours long, so like that also is really good. Okay, so I just moved around the board. And we will start roll number 4 of 7 since we got a double. A 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A standalone. So for roll number 4, I got standalone. And at first I was like, what book am I going to pick for this? And then I remembered a book I'm very excited to read, If This Gets Out, by Sophie Gonzales and Cale Deitrich. I have an arc of this. It doesn't come out until December 7th, but I have an arc through Netgalley. And essentially, I will struggle at this, but essentially we have this boy band called Saturday, and 2 of the members are in a kind of secret relationship, and essentially it is the story of the 2 of them wanting to come out, but their managers are saying no, and everybody around them saying no, and it's them kind of having to figure out how they can have their relationship happen while nobody can know, while also trying to fight for them to be able to tell the world. I think that's kind of what it's about, and I just am really interested in this. I kind of like requested it on a whim. No, it was a read now book or some of that. Essentially, I got the arc of it and I've been meaning to read it forever, but I'm honestly like, I'm pushing it off because I know as soon as I read it, I'm going to love it, and then I'm going to feel upset because I can never reread it again for the first time, if that makes any sense at all. Roll number 5. A 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. POC rep, and I swear last time I got standalone and POC rep back to back as well. So for POC rep, I'm going to be reading Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this I do not know pretty much anything about. This is the group book for the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge, which essentially is a Marvel-based reading challenge for the year of 2021. So yeah, I'm just gonna read the inside the dust jacket. Ooh, receipts. Those I put in there yesterday when I got this from the library. So essentially, 18-year-old Dana Fortain has never quite fit in, both in her hometown and the nearby Ojibwe reservation. She dreams of a fresh start at college, but when tragedy strikes, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this name right. Dana puts her future on the hold to look after her fragile mother. But the only bright spot is meeting Jamie, the charming new recruit on her brother Levi's hockey team. Yet even as, again, my brain has already forgotten how I pronounced it before. Even yet as Donna falls for Jamie, she senses the dashing hockey player star is hiding something. Everything comes to light when Donna witnesses a shocking murder, thrusting her into the FBI's investigation of a lethal new drug. Reluctantly, Dana agrees to go undercover, drawing in her knowledge of chemistry and Ojibwe traditional medicine to track down the source. But the search for the truth is far more complicated than Dana's imagined, exposing secrets and old scars. At the same time, she grows concerned with the investigation that seems more focused on punishing the offenders than protecting the victims. And yeah, so it has Ojibwe representation, so it has that, and that's how it makes it POC, because, well, yeah. And I love this cover, honestly. This is a book that I'm borrowing from my library, and I am very excited to be reading it. That honestly sounds amazing. I remember when I first read it, like, the description, I was like, that might be interesting, so, like, yeah. Roll number 6, which was supposed to be our last roll, but it's not. 3. 1, 2, 3. So, Humans, meaning a book that the main characters are humans, or like something like a contemporary would work, or even like a fantasy where the characters are human, or like, I don't know. So for Humans, I am going to be picking up The Raven King by Nora Sakovic, which is the second book in the Foxhole Court series. Well, it's the All for the Game trilogy. It's technically what the series is called. So yeah, book 2. I have two of the 3 books on my TBR, which I am happy about. And the final roll, fingers crossed. Let's hope we don't get a 4. Okay, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A hyped book, so one that is popular, or yeah. And then the final roll I got was hyped, and for this I'm picking Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, which is a sequel to These Violent Delights, which actually I'm currently reading as I'm filming this. So essentially, These Violent Delights, we are in Shanghai, 1926, and we are following Juliet, who is the heir of the Scarlet Gang, and essentially it's, how do I describe this? But after Juliet moves back to Shanghai after 4 years, essentially there is now this plague of some sort that is killing people, and she has to team up with her enemy Roma, who is a ex turned enemy, well, it's an enemy turned ex turned enemy, and he is the heir to the White Flowers, which is the Scarlet Gang's like rival gang. They're 2 rival gangs, and the 2 of them have to kind of team up to figure out where this illness came from and how to stop it. And if you didn't know, this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, if you couldn't tell by the names or the brief premise. And yeah, so Our Violent Ends follows that story. Like the next is the next book in that series, and it's the conclusion to the series. And I'm very excited to read it. This book comes out November 16th, although I have an arc through Netgalley, so I might read it beforehand, but I'm not entirely sure. So now on to Believathon. So I am only going to be doing 2 cards because I don't read that many middle grades, but I feel like 2 is a reasonable amount for a month. So I will put up the video of me I use a random number generator to pick 2 numbers between 1 and 30 because there are 30 prompts, and each number corresponds to a card which has a prompt, and so I'll just play those clips, the 2 numbers that I got, and then explain those 2 numbers of what the prompt is and what book I'm reading. Okay, so as I said before, I'm just going to use a number generator. That is just the number that it generated when it did 1 to 10, but I switched it from 1 to 30 because there's 30 cards. So numbers 11 and 26. So the numbers I got were 11 and 26. So for 11, read a book released before 2021. I am going to be reading Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab, as it was published in 2019, I think. 2019. So that is before 2021. And then card number 26 corresponds with read a book you think will surprise you. I am going to be picking Lily and Dunkin by Donna. Gephart. This is one of 2 middle grades that I own. And I am just going to read the like inside the dust jacket. Lily Jo McGrath, born Timothy McGrath, is a girl, but being a girl is not so easy when you were born in a boy's body, especially when you are in 8th grade. Duncan Dorfman, birth name Norbert Dorfman, is dealing with bipolar disorder and has just moved from the New Jersey town he's called home the past 13 years. This would be hard enough, but the fact that he's also hiding from a painful secret makes it worse. One summer morning, Lily Jo McGrath meets Duncan Dorfman, and their lives forever change. So it's just like a cute little middle grade. It's queer, and that's like all I have to say. And I feel like why I think this book will surprise me is because I don't know, is like I might be surprised of how the content's dealt with or anything like that. I'm not entirely sure, but this book I feel like it just fits that because it could surprise me in many different ways. And yeah, I've also been meaning to read this for like the longest time. And yeah. So for Descendathon, essentially it is a month-long readathon based on the Descendants movies, like Disney movies, the original one from 2015. And I adore these movies with my heart. They are like my favorite Disney movies. I absolutely love them. I remember each time one of them was released, like sitting down with my mom, getting popcorn, and just watching them. It's part of my childhood. I was 11 when the first movie came out, but still, it was just part of my life. And so, for how this works is there are 2 teams. There are the heroes and technically it's the Ordon kids and the villains. I went team villains because I like their prompts more, and also I feel like I'd lean that way a little bit more. So essentially there are 4 prompts in a team, and yeah, so I will go with the prompt, and yeah, so the prompts are based on characters. So I'll say the character, the prompt, and then all that. So for Mal, book with a villain / morally gray POV. I find this hilarious, this book that I picked. I picked Into the Dark by Donna Isley. I find it hilarious that I'm reading a serial killer romance for a readathon based on a children's TV movie. Yeah, essentially Into the Dark we have a serial killer, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't actually read the description because I want to go in knowing nothing, but essentially I think it's a serial killer who may or may not develop feelings for his latest victim, and it is not, there's so many trigger warnings that I couldn't even list them, and I know it does not have a happily ever after. And I'm just very excited for this. This book comes out the day I'm uploading this video, actually. So that will be the first book I read probably in November. So for the character of Carlos, prompt is mental health / physical disability, and everybody made a note in all the announcements that I watched is specifically if you can find one of epilepsy, because the actor that played Carlos died of epileptic seizures, but I personally couldn't find any that deal with epilepsy that interested me. But a book that I am already reading, well, I have 2 books for this actually, mainly because I was like, I kind of couldn't pick one, but Lillian Duncan has bipolar, and overall just the whole All for the Game trilogy has mental illness and depression, and it just deals with a lot of topics that I feel like it could overcompass that mental health aspect. So I kind of have like 2 answers for that, whatever. So for Evie, not just a pretty cover, this can be interpreted any way you want, really. So I am, again, I feel like a horrible person, but I am going to use, again, an entire series I just mentioned is pretty much any of the books in the All for the Game series have pretty covers if you have the alternate Dust Jacket edition. So I'm kind of like cheating this, and I'm like, they have pretty covers, but the story is much more than what it entails. So yeah, I'm kind of like pulling strings to fit books that I want to work. So yeah. And then for J, a book with heist / thievery, I'm going to be reading City of Shattered Light by Claire Winn. And this, I'm kind of twisting, is one of the main characters is a smuggler. So I feel like that kind of encompanies that like thievery vibe type thing. I know it's kind of stretching it. It's kind of like it isn't, but it is. But I just need to get this book read because I have an arc through Netgalley, and this book came out on October 19th. So I am kind of behind on this review. And it's one that I am really excited to read, but I will explain it here. As darkness closes on the City of Shattered Light, an heiress and an outlaw must decide whether to fend for themselves or fight for each other. An heiress to the power of the tech empire, 17-year-old Asa Almeida strives to prove she's more than her manipulated father's shadow. But when he uploads her rebellious sister's mind to an experimental brain, Asa will do anything to save her sister from reprogramming, including fleeing the predetermined future with her sister's digitalized mind in tow. With a bounty out on her head and a rogue AI hunting her, Asa's getaway ship crash lands in the worst possible place, the neon-drenched outlaw paradise Requiem. Gunslinging smuggler Riven Hawthorne is determined to crawl her way up Requiem's underworld hierarchy. So that underworld hierarchy smuggler, that's why I'm kind of putting it, because I feel like it kind of accompanies the vibe of the prompt, I guess. A runaway witch girl is exactly what Bounty Riven needs, but even after a nasty computer virus spreads in Asa's wake, causing a citywide blackout and tech quarantine, to get the payout for Asa and Requiem for the monster in her circuits, Riven must team up with her captain. Riven breaks skulls the way that Asa breaks circuits, and their opponent is unlike anything they've ever seen. The AI exploits the girl's darkest memories and deepest secrets, threatening to shatter the fragile alliance they're both depending on. As one of Requiem's 154-hour nights grows darker, the girls must decide whether to fend for themselves or fight for each other before Riven City and Asa's sister are snuffed out forever. And I feel like I will absolutely enjoy that. I've been meaning to read it for a while because I've had an arc of it for months. And then for Netgalley November, I've already mentioned the 3 books that I'm reading for that, but essentially Netgalley November is focused on reading your Netgalley arcs, and I do have a decently high rating already. I think it's in the low 70s, but I do want to push it up over that 80% mark, so 3 books will slowly get me there. So I will just pop up the book and say which prompts it fits for the thing. So yeah, so City of Shattered Light fits the oldest book on your TBR. It is the oldest book that I got an arc of. I got accepted for the arc in March. And also a debut author and a book that is already published. Our Violent Ends is an author of color, a book in a series, an author you've read before, and a hyped book. and for If This Gets Out is a read now book, because I got it as a read now book. And then pick an arc with a random number generator, and I put all the arcs that I have on Netgalley, and I did a number generator, and it picked If This Gets Out. And a book you requested because of the cover, If This Gets Out. I love the cover. I think that's all. There's a few prompts that I don't have filled out, but that's just because I don't have books that fit those prompts, or I don't want to put too many books on my TBR, as I already have so many. Other books I'd love to read this month, well, one is required, and that is Raven Song by T.J. Klune, but I'd also love to read Secret Court by Angeline J. Gephart, because I'm going to be getting an arc of that middle of the month. I'd also love to read Court of Dragons by Frost K. I think that is all the books that I'm like wanting to read. Really? Yeah, so I'm going to leave this here. This is a long video, and I think I have all the information that I need to share. So I'm just going to leave this here. Let me know what books you're reading in November, what readathons you're taking part of, if you're taking part in any of these. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!